Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So this evening, I have a couple of stories for you guys. We won't be here too long, but I do want to touch on some key issues here that we're looking at, a lot of the top stories. Because Elon Musk's recent demand that all federal employees provided weekly work reports has been outright ignored by agencies like the FBI with Kash Patel and the State Department. Government officials argue that such reporting is unnecessary and could compromise national security. While Musk's initiative aims to increase efficiency, labor unions and legal experts are challenging whether he has the authority to enforce such measures. When it comes to a lot of the office jobs, jobs that you sit down, you make type of paperwork, filing, maybe it doesn't matter what genre of business you in, it really doesn't matter. But if you are doing any sort of administrative work, there's times where you're not doing anything. There's times where you may have to send an email, maybe you're waiting for a meeting, but depending on the time of the season, depending on the time of the year, some people don't have that much to do. So what if this is a time right after heavy season for some industries that when he emails you that you come up with some very vague jargon of what your duties have done, what you have done in the past week. And they can just see, oh, they're not really doing anything, so fire them. But what about during heavy season? It's kind of like retail stores. During the holiday season, really stemming from October through the New Year's, a lot of the retail stores hire hundreds of workers temporarily to do that work. Is that something that they may propose? Have you guys thought about that? Temporary government workers where they only come in during high season or peak season. But isn't the government always in peak season? So again, I understand why a lot of these federal organizations has pushed back against Elon Musk when, tell us what you did last week. Give us 3 bullet points. Like I said earlier, this is somewhat absurd, but I do understand how him asking that falls within a larger scope of the DOGE, okay? It falls within a larger scope of what the DOGE sort of mission code is. Now, President Trump recently stated that the European support for Ukraine consists of mostly of loans. But French President Emmanuel Macron swiftly corrected him, emphasizing that a large portion of the aid is direct financial support, not loans. And the diplomatic clash highlights ongoing tensions over how Western nations are handling the Ukraine crisis.
Will France support the U.S.
I support the idea of Ukraine first being compensated because they are the ones who lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we.
Now, President Trump is a total character. Did you see what he just did? President Macron of France stated that comment allez-vous? That's only French I know. But he was telling President Trump, no, we loaned out 60% of the aid we've given to Ukraine, but we've gave direct financial support in 40%. He ain't giving no number. And Trump was like, yeah, miss me with all that. I'm just going to rewind it, okay, because I think people don't understand that Trump is really a comedian. He does these little like digs at people and little jokes every now and again. I know you guys know that. And that's part of the reason why people either love or hate him. Now, let me go back just a little bit here as he's explaining that the European nations, even though are getting money back from Ukraine because they loaned them the money for their military support and aid. But yeah, 40% was in financial direct support. Let's hear that once more.
Through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided back. No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants.
Trump like, yeah. Miss me with the lies. Yeah.
And we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging.
Thank you. Now and again, I thank you guys for staying on. Someone let me know. I'm always missing the sound. But thank you. And what I was stating here is that Donald Trump is not falling for the trick bag of President Macron of France, talking about the European nation gave the Ukraine 60% of loans, but gave them 40% direct financial payments that they're not going to get their money back. And I want you guys to remember that the U.S. has given over $200 billion to Ukraine. Not only have we given $200 billion, but we've given military equipment that's not equated into the sum of the $200 billion. And we also given them military personnel to sort out strategy. So we've also given them human capital. So direct cash payments to Ukraine, over $200 billion, military equipment and technology, as well as military advisors. But the European nations are giving out loans to Ukraine. They said, listen, we're going to give you $100 billion, but we're going to need $60 billion back. Okay, so you're getting $40 billion straight up, but we want $60 billion back. And when Donald Trump heard this is why the smirk was on Donald Trump's face. You don't have to like Trump, you don't have to hate Trump, but you have to respect his gangster. Can I say that again? Again, you don't have to like Trump. Okay, you can love Trump, it doesn't matter, but you have to respect his gangster, because right then and right there, he played it calm. He said, okay, he put his hand on my shoulder, but now he's going to tell me lies. I'm going to see it one more time for you guys that are just joining me here. We're just going to see it one more time.
60% of the total default, and it was through...
Is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total default, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets.
Yeah, he has that face on when people lie to you. He was like, he had that face on when people lie to you. And President Trump is just, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. He started giving it like the New Jersey, New York, like, yeah, you're playing a fiddle. You're trying to play me over, you scum. That's basically what he's saying. To the president of France, no less. Donald Trump, please, President Trump, please do not go to France and mess up croissants. Please don't mess up our nice French bread. We may never get French imported bread again. Then we're going to have to make it here in America. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, President Trump. Don't do it. Now, as we know, a leaked DHS memo reveals plans to use military installations, including Fort Bliss, as detention centers for migrants awaiting deportation. Now, this move is aimed at increasing capacity amid record border crossings. However, critics argue that detaining illegal immigrants on military bases raises concerns about oversight, human rights, and militarization of immigration enforcement. We have to do what we have to do to eradicate our country from illegal immigrants. The prisons, that is not suitable for people who are essentially not criminals. I know. They came over illegally, they broke the law. But we're talking about hardened criminals. Again, some of these people are family men, family women, and their children, of course. So again, we do have to be humane, in my opinion, as Americans. They did break the law, but that's like you breaking a law, speeding, and you get a ticket. But we have to use some places, and a lot of military bases have room when it comes to the barracks and a lot of the makeshift shelters that we can actually put them in. In military bases, there's probably over 100,000 tents that we can pop up. Okay, believe me being in the Marine Corps as well as the United States Army, believe me, they have a lot of tents, and they have large tents. I mean, we go to the field, we have these training exercises, and we literally build a tent city. And in this tent city, we have everything you can possibly imagine. And depending on what part of the world that you're in, okay, if you're in Korea, they have what you call Ajimon. Ajimon comes out to the field, and a lot of you guys know what I'm referring to. And she's cooking you all sorts of delicious Korean meals right there in the field in the tent, okay? But again, you guys understand what I'm referring to, that we build a tent city. And if they don't have a barracks, okay, and I believe that the Air Force call them dorms, whatever case, if they don't have the room to place them inside of these, we have many tents to accommodate them. And these are weatherproof tents. A lot of people may not agree, but again, what we're going to do with all of the people who are illegally inside of the country. That's what I'm asking. What we're going to do with all the people that are legally inside the country. Can you guys hear me? I see that my check sound output. I think, let me make sure that I'm good here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I believe my sound is good. I'm going to carry on. But yeah, what are we going to do with illegal immigrants? And again, I know you guys been seeing an outcry from mostly the Hispanic community. Not all. I always have to say not all, because people get triggered and get very emotional. But they've been crying out saying that Black Americans are going to get deported. And at the same breath, Donald Trump is honoring Black Americans in the White House for Black History Month. I don't know if he's tired of us just yet. I don't think he's tired of us just yet. Please let me know if my sound is good, if you can hear me as we continue on. Now, I know you guys familiar with Lester Holt. I used to watch his broadcast almost every night. But unfortunately, he has left. He has stepped down from MSNBC. And what he stated is that he's citing a desire to pass the torch to the next generation. But nonetheless, his exit raises questions about the future of primetime news and the impact of shifting audience preference. Because a lot of people are getting their news from social media. A lot of people are getting their news from social media, and a lot of people are trying to really find out why Lester Holt stepped down, because he was like the poster boy for NBC for a very, very long time. He was a poster boy for NBC for a very long time. I even watched the show. I mean, he's a very talented anchor, mediator, whatever you want to call him, newscaster. Very talented, in my opinion. And I don't know essentially what happened internally, but when it comes out, I'll make sure to update you guys. And I don't know if you guys also familiar with the ban that President Donald Trump has put on the Associated Press. Are you guys familiar with that ban? Now, in a major legal battle over press freedom, a federal judge rejected the Associated Press emergency bid to regain the White House access to the news agency. And the ban came after the AP refused to adopt the administration's preferred terminology of the Gulf of Mexico. To the Gulf of Mexico. This is what's going on. The Associated Press said, no, we're not going to adopt the coin in the term the Gulf of America. We're going to continue to say Gulf of Mexico. Donald Trump said, you're banned from the White House. I'm the president. And again, it was always the Gulf of America, and it will remain the Gulf of America. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the president stated that the Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America. I'm a news agency, and guess what it is? The Gulf of America. It's the Gulf of America. And then they try to move a junction against Donald Trump so they can regain access to the White House, and the federal judge said no. The federal judge said no. Also, are you guys familiar that Joy Reid got fired? I mean, she left MSNBC.
Of all the confounding results in this past election, perhaps the strangest phenomenon was the surprising number of people who voted for Democrats down ballot and then checked off Donald Trump for president.
They're seeing people like Elon Musk getting tax breaks and kissing up to Donald Trump in order to do so.
If they vote for, then why vote for Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
And I think that, of course, is the question.
It makes no sense.
AOC said, people are tired of folks representing billionaire donors, and that's what Republicans do. But the part they left out is, so do the Democrats. The Democrats brag about how they're for the donors. Kamala Harris said, I got 90 corporate CEOs. I got 90 corporate CEOs. They signed a letter. And Mark Cuban, go on TV. Mark Cuban's like, oh, she loves corporations. Now, don't that price gouging thing, we didn't mean any of that. The housing prices, oh, who cares about housing prices? She loves corporate CEOs. She loves Liz Cheney. She loves Dick Cheney.
Of all the
Yeah. When we look at the Democrats in conjunction with Joy Reid, she has been a Democratic shield for a very long time. The Democrats can do no wrong. And this is why media has to be very, very unbiased. And when you're spitting your rhetoric, you let the people know, this is my conjecture. This is my rhetoric. This is my opinion. But they don't do that. They give these very informative, what seems to be factual stories, and people soak it up. And then so you become siloed to MSNBC. You become siloed to CNN. You become siloed to Fox News. All this legacy media, all this mass media, they're falling because they're lying to the people, and they have been lying to the people, especially the quote unquote liberal and or Democrats, as well as some independent, right? Because some people would state that MSNBC is more independent than it is liberal or Democrat. All the same to me. All the same to me. We really only have two sides. Independents never really hold any significant weight when it comes to presidential elections. They never hold any weight. They're probably best at state and local levels. Let me show you something else, the response that Joy Reid gave because of her firing. I mean, her stepping down. And I'm not wishing bad on her at all. Okay, I'm not trying to be mean-spirited at all. So I don't want to make sure you guys understand, for me to be very, very clear. But again, she's been a Democratic shield who has spoken up for the Democratic Party for so long. And she has done nothing, done nothing to weigh the ballot in Black Americans' favor, because Joy Reid is not a Black American. I believe her ancestry comes from Jamaica. And shout out to my Jamaican friends. But here's the point I'm making. When you're not from the lineage, then I understand the banal neglect and the betrayal that you have for people who are organic to the land. I digress.
I'm sorry. That what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I take this is kind of like being on TV, so I apologize. and that it kind of, and then it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment that of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, that, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them, or whether
We have to stop right here. I just want to call out the point about Asian Americans being assaults being directed towards them from the Black community. This is a farce. Now, there were very minimum attacks that they had a couple of people on camera that was attacking Asian Americans. And again, violence happens between all races throughout the entire U.S. There were white Americans that attack Asian Americans. But when we look at the statistics, what's the majority of hate crimes? Who commit those hate crimes and who are the victims of those hate crimes? Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, but here's my thing. If you go to the Department of Justice, if you go to the FBI, you will see the crime data that majority of the victims of hate crimes are Black Americans, not Asian Americans, not Jewish, not white Americans, not Native Americans, not Alaskan Pacific Islanders. It's Black Americans. We are the victims of the majority of the hate crimes. You know why? Because mass media, Joy Reid, legacy media, Lester Holt, have helped the establishment to paint Black Americans as all criminals. They're illiterate, they're stupid, they're criminals, they're Section 8. And I've shown you guys the statistics, and I don't want to lie to you. It doesn't matter what race you are that comes to Black Logic. I'm going to give you my unfiltered bias of statistics. Can we argue with that? Because I can feed your emotions. I can invoke your emotions, but I won't do that. I'll just give you the statistics from the government websites themselves. Then some people even argue that because everything is subjective. You can go to some of these federal websites and, well, that's why Donald Trump has revamped and fired everybody, because they wasn't given true accounts. Sure. Whether it be the news stories that we see on TV each and every day, or the statistics that have been collected by independent researchers as well as the federal government that backs up and they mirror one another. So everything can't be controlled by what we think and what our emotions evoke, simply because we want to believe something that has been told over and over and over again on all of the mass media of how to look at one demographic of people in a negative light, like they're the scum of the earth. But soon as some of us come on here and we state that what you should do is define some of the historical achievements that Black Americans have made with innovations and inventions. And we point out a Ron Carter. We point out a Ron Carter, the one who created the Ring doorbell, the one that Amazon bought. He came up with that technology, a Black man. But no, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about Lonnie Johnson, the one who created the Super Soaker and the technology for the Nerf gun, and he was a NASA engineer. We don't want to talk about those people. Now, one name forgets me of the Black gentleman who made the contraption, the apparatus that basically filtrates the air and then condenses it and it becomes drinking water. And he went to Flint, Michigan. He went to all of these towns who drinking water was poisonous and was contaminated. I forgot his name. But again, a lot of the achievements that we've made in this country, I'm talking about Black Americans, I'm not talking about anyone else, but the innovations and inventions that we've made becomes over and underlooked by mass media. The only people that they actually show you guys is Martin Luther King Jr., George Washington Carver, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and all of these have to deal with civil rights. No, we contributed to society more than people would ever know. Not just damn civil rights, not just social programs. No. And there's some things off the top of my head. Blood transfusion, the procedure for that, the blue baby syndrome. Vivian Thomas came up with that. Ben Carson, the first doctor, and you guys are familiar with Ben Carson. He was on Trump's last term. He was the HUD director, I believe. But nonetheless, Ben Carson was the first doctor to successfully separate Siamese twins. Ben Carson. Charles Drew, blood refrigeration. And some of these names I might get wrong because I'm just naming them off the top of my head because we've come up with the first mobile refrigeration, the first home security system, Marion Van Brown. I want you to look at the hidden figures and some of the things they invented and patent outside of the algorithms that they built for NASA to propel our space program into space and land on the moon. What about those beautiful Black sisters? Again, I just have so many things to tell you, but not enough time. And the only reason why I tell you that is because mass media and legacy media were people that look like her. I'm talking about complexion and phenotype. That they cast this large looming shadow of how a large demographic of Black Americans are a particular way, where majority of Black Americans are in the middle class. So we in the middle class and we going out being Pookies and Ray Rays and Shaniquas? No. Two things can't be true when there's a higher percentage of people being progressive versus you presenting a higher social percentage of them doing bad. Bye, Joy Reid, whatever your name is. Good riddance. I don't wish her bad luck, but I'm glad she's off of TV for now. Lord have mercy. Thank you, Jesus. Woo! You guys have a great and wonderful night. This is Black Lives.